Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, the Phillies have essentially revealed their opening day roster. We'll react on how it looks on today's show.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We come to you as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You may know me from some of my other work in the sports talk space. I've been on the air at 97.5 The Fanatic doing sports talk radio here in Philadelphia for a little over 5 years now. I've been a credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member for 4 seasons now. I was officially approved for my season-long credential as of earlier this morning. So it'll be my 4th year being a credentialed media member for the Philadelphia Phillies. And this is also my 4th year as the host of Locked On Phillies. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube. That helps you get notifications when new episodes are posted. It helps you keep up to date on Phillies news. It's free. It's easy. It's a great way to really help us out. So it helps you. It helps me. I appreciate everyone who has subscribed and everyone who's going to subscribe to the YouTube. And same with the ratings and reviews on wherever you consume your podcast, whatever feed you use for that. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So check out our friends over at FanDuel. In today's episode, we're going to react to what looks to be the Phillies opening day roster. We're also going to react to the lineup because we know their opening day lineup, and we also know that it won't be a set lineup for the year. That's going to be super weird. And we're going to talk about what we learned from 2025 spring training, because this is really the final spring training, quote unquote, episode that we'll do. Tomorrow is when we'll do our division preview and Phillies predictions. And then Thursday, folks, it's opening day. We are just about there. We got 2 more days to get through till opening day. So beautiful, beautiful thing for the Philadelphia Phillies. Let's start with this opening day roster, though, because there was not much that was up for grabs. To tell you, a little pat on the back for myself, I guess, in some way, opening day roster prediction 1, I think, had all the position players correct, or maybe I guess it was version 2 once Weston Wilson went down, but had that correct. And then the bullpen, the only guy that I didn't have in there was the guy that they acquired in Carlos Hernandez over the weekend. So probably could have predicted, they would have signed somebody, but it was pretty darn close. And that's not hey, Connor, you're a baseball genius. No, anyone could have been pretty close on predicting the Philadelphia Phillies opening day roster because, frankly, there wasn't that much up for grabs. But there are a couple of interesting things on here as we run down the names. So I will give you the opening day roster projected for the Phillies. Now, they're not supposed to, or they're not required to, turn in this information to the league until Thursday, right? They'll do it the day of, I think. Or maybe no, I'm pretty sure it's Thursday that is the deadline for them to do that. But anyway, we don't need them to announce it yet, so they haven't. Here is what it's going to be, though, basically. There are a lot of reports out there about this. You can put the pieces together. Cody Clemens has already been told he's made the team, so we know that. We know what's going to happen in the bullpen. Stuff to break down as we go through this. The catchers, easy, JT Realmuto, Rafael Marchand. We've had that nailed the whole time. Stubbs in the minor leagues. That was always going to be the thing. Infielders, Bryce Harper, Bryce Stott, Trey Turner, Alec Boehm, and Edmundo Sosa. Of course, you can add Cody Clemens to that list. Sosa, Clemens, utility guys, more so depth pieces. Obviously, those starters are going to be the first 4 guys we listed. Outfielders are going to be Max Kepler, Brandon Marsh, Nick Castellanos, Johan Rojas, Kyle Schwarber technically, but we know he's going to DH. I would love to not see him in left field this year at all. That would be ideal. If Kyle Schwarber does not play left field for the Philadelphia Phillies this year, that means they're having a pretty darn good season. Starting pitchers, we know the starting 5. Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, Luzardo, and now it's going to be Taijuan Walker. So that brings us to our first discussion on this. The reason Ranger Suarez is not on the opening day roster, he has back stiffness. They're being cautious with him. Now, Rob Thompson seemed to estimate it at about 3 starts that Ranger Suarez could miss. Brings him to like middle of April. 3 Taijuan Walker starts is not ideal. It's going to be a nightmare. You're going to be holding your breath the whole time. Those are going to be games where you expect to see the Phillies score 5, 6, 7 runs if you want them to win. That is just reality. I'm not here to prop up Taijuan Walker because, he plays for the Phillies and we support all of our guys. No, I'm going to tell you if a guy stinks. And he stunk last year. And I don't have a lot of faith in him to not stink in those 3 starts. But the Phillies are hamstrung. Now, why is it not Joe Ross? Here's my thought process on that. Because Joe Ross is a swing man they brought in that could start out of the pen if needed. Why would it not be him? Well, the injury to Ranger Suarez, the back stiffness, happened recently. So with that, there hasn't been time to really stretch Joe Ross out. If you're looking at him as a long reliever, that's totally different than as a starter. So if this had happened on March 1st, I could think that Joe Ross would be the guy that would get that spot in the rotation, a la Spencer Turnbull from last year. But being that it happened like a week before opening day, basically, means you kind of have to go with the guy who's stretched out to start if you want someone to start. So Taijuan Walker is going to be in the rotation. Ranger Suarez will begin the season on the injured list, as will Weston Wilson, who has an oblique injury that happened 3 weeks ago pretty much. And that's a guy that will be on this roster at some point. Depends when he recovers. But those are your 2 injured list guys. Walker slots into the rotation. And the bullpen is filled out by Jordan Romano, Jose Alvarado, Orion Kirkring, Tanner Banks, Jose Ruiz, Joe Ross. We knew all of those names before spring training started. Carlos Hernandez is going to be in the opening day bullpen, I'm telling you. He was just acquired over the weekend for the Royals. We talked about him in yesterday's episode. You can go ahead and check that out. And Matt Strahm is indeed going to be in the bullpen for opening day. He is ready and available after dealing with his shoulder impingement that kept him out for the better part of spring training. Seems like he's good to go. Now, the shoulder seems fine. He had another injury that caused him to miss his appearance in the final spring training game for the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday, which was he was packing up his daughter's toys to leave spring training, and he tore his fingernail. Now, I don't know if that means he clipped it on something, if there's just a piece missing, if he ripped the whole nail off. It shouldn't affect his opening day status. He's not going on the injured list. He's going to be just fine, but he skipped that start that day because he messed up his fingernail packing his daughter's toys. Now, I have a thought on that real quick before we get into the overall of the opening day roster, right? But that's one of those injuries where that just, to me, it doesn't matter. He's not going to miss any time that matters. He's going to be available for the season. So it's not, I'm worried about Matt Strahm's fingernail. No, that's one of those, if you're a sports fan, you got to get these vibes with teams, right? For example, if you're a Phillies fan, there's probably a good chance you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan. The 2024-25 Eagles, who won the Super Bowl, just had these awesome vibes, man. Very likable team. Saquon Barkley was great for them. They're going for records. They're making the right choices to prioritize the Super Bowl. The path is breaking out their way. You had a bunch of funny memes and trends and everything. They were just a really fun team. Stuff seemed to fall for them. The whole hurt your fingernail packing up your daughter's toys, leaving spring training, that feels like a Mets injury. That feels like a White Sox injury. That feels like a Twins injury. And some of those teams, there's just they're cursed for whatever reason with stuff like that. We've seen it with the Sixers in this town here. You're a Sixers fan as well as a Phillies fan. You know that injuries have killed that team in some strange ways. Now, this is not a big injury, but it's one where I'm just vibe's not good, right? Doesn't ultimately mean anything. It's like the opposite of finding a penny heads up, I guess, which would be tails side up. Just doesn't bode well. This is a black cat crossing the path. You could still go on to have a great day, and that black cat doesn't technically affect it. But when a guy hurts his fingernail packing up from spring training, you start to get the feeling of, is it going to be this type of year for the Philadelphia Phillies? Ranger Suarez down, Weston Wilson down, Matt Strahm just comes back and then has this weird thing happen. But it's more of a funny side thing at this point. He's going to be just fine. He's going to be able to throw on opening day if needed. So that's more of just a stupid sports fan brain thing that doesn't make you feel good about the vibes coming into the season. I know people have much more serious concerns about this team than Matt Strahm's fingernail, which is they haven't hit when it mattered. They didn't change a lot. They don't trust the manager enough. So there's a lot of questions. But here's what I will say. Catcher, you're in a fine spot. Infield, you're in a fine spot. Bullpen, you're in a fine spot. Rotation, you're in an awesome, awesome spot. The outfield's going to be the weak spot of this team. And that's where the Philadelphia Phillies have the least depth at the major league level. Both their 2 reserve guys in Sosa and Clemens are infielders. I mean, Clemens can play the outfield a little bit. Sosa, they've been trying to get him set up to play the outfield a little bit, but you don't have a lot of depth in the outfield. You're basically going to need Castellanos to play all 162 again. You're going to need Max Kepler to play pretty much every day in left field. You're going to need Rojas to be able to hit to add depth somewhere. And you're going to need Marsh to really be able to play everyday center field. Like that's it. Once Weston Wilson comes back, you'll add some depth there. That's why he's going to be added to the roster when he gets off the injured list. And they'll figure out what they want to do with Cody Clemens or maybe a bullpen arm. Maybe that'll be a coinciding Taijuan Walker release move. Who knows? But right now, the outfield is the weak spot on this team. Everywhere else is as stacked as you'd expect it to be. This is a great opening day roster, a talented baseball team. The fans are going to tell me is not good because they can't win in October. And guess what? If that's the goal, and it is, they haven't accomplished that yet. They haven't won it all. But where we sit on March 25th, 2025, I'm very, very happy with the roster the Phillies are going into the season with. Anyone who's asking for more talent, more ability, I'm not talking about postseason, I'm talking about right now, more talent or ability out of this roster, you're getting greedy. This is a damn good baseball team. They're going to be a damn good baseball team. And this is about all the roster, like in best case scenario, could have looked like once they went through free agency. So that is your opening day roster for the Philadelphia Phillies. As told by Connor Thomas, it has not been officially announced by the team, but unless something crazy happens with another injury packing, that seems to be what the roster is going to be heading into the season. I think it's a darn good one. Now, on the other hand, the lineup, I don't know. And I don't know about the strategy. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with the Philadelphia Phillies lineup. Something that I told you about that I need to pat myself on the back for legitimately this time, not predicting a roster where there are only really like two positions up for grabs. No, this one I tried to tell you and people freaked out about anyway. But I don't know if I like the strategy that they're going to use in addition to what the lineup's going to look like on opening day. We'll talk about that coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine. And it's all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. Let me ask you guys something. If you were getting paid over $300 million to do your job day to day, wouldn't you want to do the best possible job you could? Wouldn't you want to earn that? Wouldn't you want to make sure all the tools you're using for that are the highest quality? You got all the money in the world. Why would you use a second-rate protein powder or pre-workout? You wouldn't. And that's why Bryce Harper's endorsement of Just Ingredients carries so much weight. And I love that Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients, just like Bryce Harper does, without the artificial junk. Whether you're recovering after a workout or need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. I've used both of them. I can tell you they work. Visit justingredients.us and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram. So give some love and to your own body and also to our friends over at Just Ingredients. I also want to tell you about Monarch Money. Monarch Money is awesome for a guy like me because I'm terrible at keeping track of where my money goes. I know it happens to all of you, right? You check your bank account and you wonder, where in the world did all that cash go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, for me, it's golfing. It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO gives you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and you can start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, well, I realized just how much I was spending on things like food delivery, golf, entertainment stuff, like maybe going out to the movies, heading out to the bar, going out to nice dinners. It really puts in perspective what you're spending the money on so that you know what to cut back on and what you can get away with. It's perfect, and it's easy to collaborate with people. So if you're managing your money with your partner, it's smoother than ever. You don't have to have those awkward conversations about what you're spending money on. You both have access to the system, so you can go ahead and see, here's what we're budgeting for, here's what we're spending on. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code Locked On MLB for half off your first year. So check out our friends at Monarch Money. All right, let's talk about the lineup situation because this is where it gets a little tricky. As sure as the opening day roster seemed, the lineup was the complete opposite. We were unsure what the Philadelphia Phillies were going to do heading into this season. I mean, Kyle Schwarber brings up a very, very interesting point of what the leadoff hitter should be. And yet, in past seasons, I've strongly defended that, him batting leadoff, that is, because they win a lot when Kyle Schwarber bats leadoff. He has been incredible in creating win opportunities for the Philadelphia Phillies. And then the Phillies come out and say, well, we're going to try and switch things up. We're going to try Trey Turner at leadoff. That's what we're going to do. We're going to work on spring training. And then opening day, that's what you're going to see. And then for the past week from right now, leading up to the opening day game, they have been having Kyle Schwarber at leadoff. And everyone freaked out. And I kept telling you guys, it's spring training, all right? We have not come to the point where any of this matters yet. None of these games count. When the games count, I find it very hard to believe that the Phillies are going to go back on their strategy that they told us they were going to do. They didn't just lie to our face. So either they have, one, a really darn good reason for why they went back on that in spring training, or two, they're going to do it, and they're just working on something that we're not aware of. When I look at the lineup from yesterday and I see that Matt Gelb of The Athletic has reported that this will indeed also be the Phillies opening day lineup in Washington, I say, duh. Of course it is, because they told you they were going to do it. Trey Turner's going to be batting leadoff. Bryce Harper second, Alec Bohm third, Kyle Schwarber batting cleanup from the DH spot, JT Realmuto batting fifth, Max Kepler batting sixth, Nick Castellanos batting seventh. I would probably flip Castellanos and Realmuto. I think Castellanos is a better hitter, but no major issues with this yet. Bryson Stott batting eighth, Brandon Marsh batting ninth. That's going to be their opening day lineup. That is what they are using. That's a great lineup. The Braves may have a better one. The Mets may have a better one. The Dodgers may have a better one. Outside of those teams, who do you get? The Yankees? Maybe. The Orioles? Too many young guys. I don't know. The Guardians? Not enough pop. This is one of the top 3 or 4 lineups in all of baseball. Obviously, the Dodgers are the 1-1 and the greats. But when you look at other teams outside of that, the Phillies are right in that competition. With that lineup, they're going to bat Trey Turner leadoff, which I'm totally fine with, because if you can't switch up the roster, you're trying to make a change internally because you couldn't make a change externally. That's what we wanted, right? That's what Phillies fans have been clamoring for. Do something different. And now they do something different, and people are losing their minds. And part of the reason people are losing their minds, it's not just Trey Turner batting leadoff, right? A lot of the fan base seems to be in favor of that. It's because they went with Kyle Schwarber in spring training for a little bit, and some people feel like that was a missed opportunity to get used to what the lineup will be. I don't think the lineup of veteran players that has had all this continuity needs to get used to that. I think you can just put them where you want them and where you think they'll work best and hit the ground running on Thursday. But time will tell. I could be wrong on that. That's just my opinion on it. But the other thing is Rob Thompson has now said that they're going to look at handedness, and they may flip-flop leadoff hitters. So it's not just going to be Trey Turner every day, regardless, unless something majorly wrong happens with this experiment. It's going to be Turner some days, Schwarber some other days, flip-flop. Now, the same people who argued for change for the Philadelphia Phillies this offseason are now arguing for continuity of the lineup. The same people who said, well, why can't Bryce Harper bat second? It's probably a better spot for him, are now upset that they're changing the lineup day to day. Now, I love continuity in baseball. I've told you this time and time again, especially with the bullpen, because I was a pitcher. I know what it means to know when you're throwing, know what inning you're throwing, or generally what inning you're throwing, have that preparation. To be flipping guys back and forth in lineup spots doesn't feel ideal. Now, what I will say is there's no right way to do it. There's a preferred way. There's a less preferred way. But teams have won both ways. I bring up Joe Madden and the 2016 Cubs a lot on this. He had different lineups, it feels like, every darn day. He won the World Series. Or rather, his team won the World Series, batting in different spots, changing a whole bunch of things. That's not typical, but it's not like seeing this as impossible. So they're not doing anything that's never been done before. They're doing stuff that makes sense based on handedness, which is something we've talked about the Phillies prioritizing. They like lefties on righties. They like righties on lefties. So there's logic behind the reasoning. It fits the idea of changing things up that this fan base has been clamoring for. And both of the guys that would be batting in the leadoff spot on any given day, in Schwarber or Turner, are great baseball players. So I don't understand really what the problem is. And if it's not working, the Phillies are going to stop doing it, right? They're not just going to beat their heads against a wall for 162 games. They will make changes, just like they did when Trey Turner didn't get the job done in the leadoff spot last time. They gave him 14 games. They moved on. To some people, that's too quick, but if they don't make changes too soon, Rob Thompson's in a no-win situation. So I'll just tell you right now, I like what he's doing to put Trey Turner in the leadoff spot. I'm cool with him alternating leadoff hitters depending on matchup. I think you have multiple lineups that should be able to work with this team because everybody's so damn talented with a bat in their hands. But I also have to put my faith in Rob Thompson to evaluate that, and he knows significantly more about this team than I do. The temperament of the players, the focus of certain guys, the comfortability of a lot of guys in their spots, that's on him to determine. I'm not going to pretend like I know the inner workings of the minds of the players the way that their manager does. So we have to put faith in Rob Thompson, which for some people is a scary thing, but for me is the required thing when you look at a manager building out a lineup. And the good news is, however you put it together, this Philadelphia Phillies lineup, you could reverse it. And it could be Marsh leading off, Stott second, Castellanos third, Kepler fourth. I mean, you could flip this anyway. It's still a damn good lineup. We're just trying to optimize it. And I imagine there will be changes throughout the season, more even than just the leadoff spot. So that's the opening day lineup. Sorry to ruin the suspense of waiting till Thursday at like 2 p.m. for that to come out. But that's what it's going to look like when they take the field in Washington, as reported by Matt Gelb of The Athletic, with Zach Wheeler on the mound, mind you. So hopefully a chance for a good first win of the season for the Philadelphia Phillies. But spring training, well, it's over. Yesterday was the final game. Everything is all wrapped up. So we're going to go through what we learned from 2025 spring training about the Phillies and about spring training in general. Just some lessons learned, because every time you go through spring training, every time you watch a new team do stuff, you pick up on new things that you should care about, shouldn't care about, and need to focus on for this specific team. We'll talk about that coming up as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Phillies. But first, let me tell you about FanDuel, because March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. So here's what you do, right? Because we're kind of in that dead zone. The tournament doesn't get going again. The Sweet 16 starts on Thursday. Right now, I'm recording this. It's Tuesday. So you go on to FanDuel if you're a new customer. You win a $5 bet on some heavy favorite, and let's just say like the NBA. Or maybe you even want to bet one of the early games on Thursday for opening day. And you get yourself some money so that you're ready to use those extra $200 when the tournament rolls back around and gets open. I've got my eye on some of the one seeds because this tournament has been as chalk as it gets. Look at Duke. Look at Auburn. Look at Florida. Look at Houston. Focus on those teams. That's where I want to spend my money. And the FanDuel app is definitely where I want to use my money. It's simple to use. And when I win, I get paid instantly, no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. You got to. It's a great time. Use FanDuel to do it. All right. So what did we learn from spring training 2025? There are a lot of lessons here. The first one is a repeating lesson that I'm going to start things with that was just exemplified. Maybe that's not the word I'm looking for, but you understand what I'm saying. It was just proven by that last conversation that we had. The Phillies told you, hey, we're going to do something different at the leadoff spot. Trey Turner's going to bat leadoff for us. That's the plan. We're going to shake things up. We feel we need to do that. And then they went with Kyle Schwarber for like the week leading up to the decision in the final spring training game. And then they went right back to what they said they were going to do. Because ultimately, spring training does not matter as much as I think the average fan may, maybe not the average fan, as some fans look at it. The games do not count. The most important thing is lesson number 2, which is another repeating lesson. Being healthy is all that matters, right? It doesn't matter what anybody's hitting. It doesn't matter what anybody's throwing. It matters that you are healthy, that you look good, that you're stretched out, that you're ready to go. When that doesn't happen, that's how you end up with Taijuan Walker making the opening day rotation. That's how you end up with Cody Clemens and Buddy Kennedy duking it out for the last spot as a position player. That's how you end up with having to sign Carlos Hernandez right before the season starts. Now, not all of those are bad things. The Taijuan Walker one is the only one that I look at as inherently a bad thing for the team's chances to win ball games. But that's just when injuries happen to guys like Strahm and Suarez and Wilson, that's how you end up with spring training becoming, well, more interesting because you have to figure out who's filling these spots, but that's where you start to get worried about things. What happens here? Where's my depth? How long does this injury persist for? These are the questions we ask. So spring training results don't matter. Sometimes what people are showing you in spring training doesn't matter. The most important thing that matters is injuries. But those are all general tenets from Major League Baseball, not just the Phillies. I mean, look at the Mets. They've had spring training injuries to their rotation. Now people are like, well, how is this team ever going to pitch with some of the teams in their division? The Braves, they've had some injuries as well. Guys like Ronald Acuna and Spencer Strider are not quite ready to start the year. Now they're coming off of injuries, but it just shows you how different a team can look if things don't go your way in spring training on the health perspective. So it's not just a Phillies thing. It's a general thing. Survive spring training. The Phillies have largely done that. The Ranger-Suarez thing is the most troubling of the issues that currently exist. Now, what did we learn? Speaking of the Phillies, let's go into more Phillies-specific stuff. What did we learn about the team? Well, we learned that they trust Brandon Marsh to be the everyday center fielder. We've talked about that. That is a show of faith to a player that I think earned it before he's gotten it. He had a terrible, terrible, terrible second half of the year last year. Couldn't hit the broadside of the barn. I'm not defending him for that. I'm not saying, Brandon Marsh is a great center fielder. No worries. No. But I am saying that he has deserved, with the lack of depth the Phillies have had in the outfield, to have an everyday starting spot for, I think, a couple years now. And he's finally getting that opportunity. If he squanders it, Rojas is there in a snap. And if Brandon Marsh messes up, it's going to need to be Rojas. And that's totally fine. I think the Phillies are ready to make that move if and when that happens. But Marsh clearly deserves the opportunity. Credit to them. So they made that decision. They're willing to change around the lineup, at least a little bit. Some days not. I think balance is an important thing. I think continuity is an important thing. I think trying to change ways you're approaching something if it's not working is important. So that trident of reasons that the Phillies have to work through in their mind have all led to this middle ground approach that they're taking with the lineup, right? That has been revealed over the course of spring training. I think it's a good middle ground. I don't know if middle ground is the way to approach it. That's where I think the disconnect is. They found a medium that they possibly could with their strategies and what they think they need to fix. The problem is fans are either on one side or another. It's very rare that you find a fan, which is short for fanatic, which means basically insane. You're fanatical. It's hard for some fans to find middle ground there. So you want to see this drastic solution. The Phillies have actually, I think, found a pretty neat spot right in the middle of everything they've been trying to figure out. We will see if it plays out this way. We found out that their starting pitching depth is not where it needs to be. The fact that Taijuan Walker's in this rotation, not a great sign, because Tyler Phillips and Michael Mercado are not ready for an extended amount. Joe Ross wasn't stretched out enough, and that's no fault of anybody. It's just unlucky that the Ranger-Suarez thing happened as late as it did. Andrew Painter's not ready. Now, you think back, and he waited a couple months to be reevaluated before he had Tommy John. If you cut a couple months down from the July timeline, well, that would probably put you at opening day, which means he could be ready as a depth piece if they had handled that correctly. That's a story for 2-3 years ago and another day. But you found out that the Philadelphia Phillies don't really have the starting pitching depth, so you're really going to need your starters to be healthy. The bullpen actually seems to be a little deeper than we thought it was going to be, right? You can afford to potentially lose Matt Strahm and fill out the bullpen. You could afford to not have to reach into the minor leagues because of injuries or stuff that lightens the bullpen pitchers available. Moving Taijuan Walker into the rotation opens up that spot, but Carlos Hernandez is now here. So the bullpen looks better. The rotation looks a little thinner. The lineup, pretty much what they told us it would be. And the depth for the Philadelphia Phillies, well, as far as position players are concerned, it's going to be dependent on guys like Edmundo Sosa and Cody Clemens, Weston Wilson when he's back, Johan Rojas. I mean, you could do worse. You could do better, but you could certainly do worse. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a great baseball team. And when you head into opening day, you should feel better about your chances to win the World Series than all but like 3 or 4 franchises, right? And even then, that might be a high number. So what we learned in spring training is even the best teams have stuff they need to figure out every year. And really, health is what matters. Well, they're done playing games. So as long as everybody travels to Washington safely, and we, of course, always wish safe travels to the Philadelphia Phillies as they get ready to head north to get set for opening day in 2 days, they should be delivering a largely healthy team to the start of the season, and that's a very good thing. Now, what will they be delivering in win total, in home runs, in RBIs, in all of these big stats that matter? ERA, strikeouts, awards, championships, pennants. Well, we will talk tomorrow. It will be our big prediction show for the Philadelphia Phillies 2025 season. All kinds of stuff from win totals to individual performances to awards to division to everything in the postseason. We will talk about in our final episode before it's a day that the Phillies play baseball. So we've got some fun stuff still coming this week here on Locked On Phillies, but I want to say thank you so much for joining us. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. And I will talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.